Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third installment of our speaker series. I'm joined today by a speaker who, for once, uh, from our other guest, is not an alumni. She is I apologize. They are a very talented uh, filmmaker from New York, and we have her now. Or I apologize. We have Carmen now, and I'm just gonna add her in. So. Hello, Carmen. It's nice to see you. We haven't met yet, so yeah. So, how was your day today? How are you doing, Carmen?
I've been doing all right. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I have some issues with lighting setting up, but it's nice to finally talk to you. Uh, yeah, our president Madison did most of the communications with you, but it's nice to sit down with you and have this conversation. So, just but people are still filtering in, so just so we can talk and get to know each other for a little bit. Like, what's your like? Where did you graduate from? Where are you from, Carmen?
I'm from Ohio, so OHIO. And I actually went to Maggie Flanagan Studio, a conservatory, and I also went to Marymount Manhattan College.
Awesome. Yeah, I was trying. I've researched on your LinkedIn, and Madison also sent me like your profile. I read through that, and yeah, I didn't know you're from Ohio though. That's cool. Uh, so just I don't know. No one's here yet, so there's usually people here by now. But
No worries.
so you're in, yeah, you're in New York right now, right?
Yes, I'm in New York right
Okay.
now. Sorry, I'm trying to like set this
Yeah,
up
no
because
problem.
I
Yeah, I had
actually,
some issues on my own end.
yeah, I couldn't get it to work on my computer, so I'm gonna try and connect on my computer as well if
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know if that would probably I feel like that might be a better
No, no,
option.
you can. No, you can. Yeah, if they both work, you can just get out of your phone. If you'd rather use your computer, that's fine. But
Okay.
yeah.
I'm
Uh,
not really used to. Let's see if this is better.
oh, I don't think any of us are, but I've gotten accustomed to it after doing a few of these. Uh,
All right, that might work. Great.
awesome. Uh, let me add a font. Okay. So yeah, this is recorded. It's going to go on YouTube for future reference from all of our uh, supporters on just KSUIF. But so, what are you currently working on, Carmen? I was just editing a video today, all day today. I've been going insane trying to do that. But during COVID and everything, what have you been trying to work on all throughout your days? I assume trying to stay indoors.
Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely stay indoors most of the time, and if I'm outdoors, I have a mask and all of the things. So I'm definitely playing it safe over here. I did get COVID, so I was one
Oh,
that
wow.
spent most of the time, telling people play it safe because this definitely impacts the rest of your life. So I would say like I'm only just now able to start getting back to work. And I'm working on a film right now, so we're filming in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I saw that. It's can you just describe to me what it's about again for everyone, the people that are watching?
Yeah.
What themes you're exploring in that film before we get into the main conversation.
Yeah, so the film is called Pink and Blue. And it's about a transgender non-conforming couple. So one is black, the other is Filipinx, and they have a surprise pregnancy, and they're trying to decide how they're going to raise their child, without gender norms in a binary world. So that's what the film's about, and the themes are, it's definitely a drama, but it's a family drama. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think there's a lot of themes of like family, new beginnings, love, those kinds of things.
Awesome. And you wrote that film as well as directing it?
No, I'm just
No.
direct.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. It's cool to see other writers trying to explore those themes uh, in this time, because I personally haven't seen as many as I would like. So it's cool that we're finding more and bringing those to light. And that's being filmed in New York, I assume.
Yes. So we film in
Yeah,
New York in 2 weeks, and we'll be, as safe as we possibly can. Um,
yeah. Has it been a it's been a transition, I assume, for someone who's accustomed to filming just the normal way as we used to call it, but I guess times are changing because of a pandemic. So it's a big transition. Do you think what's it called? French hours. That's what it's called, I think. Like it's without breaks, I think. Are
oh no,
yeah, no.
we have to follow union guidelines.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
I,
so
I
we
heard some, yeah. I don't know. I was hearing some like main like big productions trying to transition to doing that just because of COVID and just this time because like if you don't want people to leave set if you just want to keep everyone on set and so there's less uh possibilities and variables in that realm. But yeah, I didn't know about specific union guidelines.
Yeah, we have to have like a COVID compliance officer. So everybody has to be tested every couple days, like every 72 hours. Um, so people have to basically quarantine and stay COVID negative in order to be on set. Otherwise, it doesn't work out. So
Yeah,
there are a lot of people that are trying to film right now and they can't, or they started and then they get shut down. So
yeah, it's a struggle. So yeah, before we start our conversation, so we have some people that came in. uh What who are you, Carmen? And how did you get into film? You said you're from Ohio and now you're in New York, but uh, just what got you started on this journey to being a filmmaker and who the person you are today? Just try to tell everyone that's
that's a good
watching in a
question.
few sentences.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Carmen. My pronouns are they, them. I'm originally from Ohio, OHIO, what's up? And I actually started I mean, I used to watch a lot of films when I was little. I don't know why I didn't realize that I wanted to be a filmmaker back then because I feel like I was kind of late in that realization. I actually started in theater, so that's how I kind of got introduced to being creative. I just really loved theater so much. I liked being there. I liked being around actors. I liked being around, everyone who's building a set. Like I just enjoyed everything. I loved everything about it. I just wasn't interested in lighting. That was the only thing that didn't quite catch me. But yeah, so I started there and then started studying. I went to New York. I only applied for schools that were in New York or Chicago or California, I think. And then, like based on that, I just sort of went to New York because I figured that if I could make it in New York, I could pretty much make it anywhere. You have such access to art and culture here, and I those were really really important to me. So I came to New York, started working in theater, and at the time I was super super shy and just like very, I guess maybe shy isn't the word, more like I am an introvert, so it was really hard for me in my classes to always give the right notes to actors and things like that. So I went to a conservatory to study acting. And then right as I was finishing conservatory, I started making films, just because I made some friends who made film and they were like, "Do you want to collaborate?" And I was like, "Yes." And then that's sort of how it took off. But I would be I would be irresponsible to say that, to leave out the fact that going from theater to film it was easy for me because I felt like there wasn't diversity of opinion or diversity of different just people, cultures, and all of that in theater that I was really yearning for, and I felt like film was more progressive and allowed you to explore different sides of humanity or different schools of thought or things that you haven't seen before in a way that theater didn't offer.
Do you think that's mostly because of like the theaters they mostly cater to like older audiences, and just most of the productions put on are like mostly classical, or I don't know what productions the theater you were going at that you were working at was performing, but
Um,
what leads you to saying that? Because that's interesting.
I think that like the reality is like a lot of playwrights of color aren't produced as much as they need to be,
Yeah,
or there's a lot of undiscovered talent, in New York. And it all basically it's like with anything, it's like when you're like, why is this like this? And then and then you do some digging and you follow the money and you realize exactly why things are the way they are. So so I kind of discovered that, and I just thought with film, you don't have to ask anybody for permission. You pretty much like put some money in a bucket, and then you say, all right, we got to hire these people, to work on this gig. And we just have to make sure that we hire people that we appreciate, that we respect, and that we want to work with. And we just continue to do that. And you kind of build your community that way. Every set you go on, you build community, and then you work on something else.
yeah, it's all about community, and at least film nowadays. That's that's what I like as well. Uh, do you find any other advantages from your theater background that you brought into film? Because that's something that I wish I had. Like, because I feel like just directing actors, you have a special skill set just because of your theater and background. But do you think there's anything else, or is that even one of them?
You know what? Actually, I just discovered this probably like 2 weeks ago. Um, I actually in high school had taken, we had like a theater program in high school, and we also had a lot of art history classes. And my papa used to take me to the art history museum, like any museum, like art museums on the weekends and stuff. And I would say and my grandma being a painter, like she made this.
That's awesome.
Like
Very
yeah,
abstract.
right. I feel like looking at art probably helps a lot because you're thinking about composition, you're looking at framing, you're looking at all of that stuff. So I guess like being more of a visual learner, I didn't realize that that's how I learned, but you know, I feel like that sort of helped me out more than I would have thought. And then studying at a conservatory, it was an acting conservatory, so I was completely um, surrounded by actors all the time. So it was like not only am I learning how to act myself, but I'm also communicating like it's you're learning firsthand what actors need to succeed and what they need to thrive, with as few words as possible, which I feel like is super
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, that nonverbal communication is extremely important, I think, and you can attest to that, I assume. Uh, when it comes to your directing style and the projects you've chosen throughout your career, do you find any patterns? Because I've seen just by reading the synopsises, and uh, I've seen some of your shorts. Like, what kind of patterns do you find in the projects you choose and write, and those themes? Like, what drives you to make those films? Because that's that's what drives me to make my own films, and I think there's a continuous pattern that is going to be somewhat reoccurring, like in the background and of all of our films. But what do you see in yours?
I like a lot of themes of addiction. Like that's one theme that I like to create around. I like really complicated uh, women driven stories. That's something that I really like. And I also like interesting family dynamics. And across the board, just LGBTQIA content. But those are pretty much I would say those are the themes. I really like to look at otherized folk. Like I like looking at marginalized communities and being able to uplift within the experience of those that are working with me on screen and and behind the camera. Like I think that's very, very important, and that can absolutely draw me to a project. And then I also like, socio-political issues. So that might draw me to produce a film if I feel like it's something that we need to talk about, we need to see, we need to hear about. Then I might come on and say, yeah, I'm down to help produce this film, you know.
Awesome. What other what makes you stay in New York? Because that's a huge film scene right now, like Chicago, Atlanta, and California. But uh, from what I've gathered, you've somewhat remained there. That's been your HQ per se. Uh, what what keeps you tied down there?
I think I mean, like,
You said community, right?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, it's nice because pretty much when it's not quarantine, there's just so much accessibility. You don't have to worry about, first of all, I've made a film in California. It's cheaper to make a film in New York. First of all.
Really?
So it's very expensive to film in California. I haven't made anything in Atlanta yet, or Chicago yet. And I would love to make a film in Ohio, but it's just that would be the number one thing. But simple things, like let's keep it simple. I love the food here. I love the culture here. I love, the like just you can do anything at any time of day that you want. Um, and you're in a place where artists from all over the world gather, People come here to see things, people come here to experience things, and I feel like there's something about the pacing that really appeals to me, whereas I've tried California and the pace is a little bit different, and I have a lot of fire energy. I'm like, let's get it going. What can we do next? What is
It's a bit slower, I assume, in
Yeah, in
California.
California it's a little
Yeah.
bit slower.
I'm glad to hear that. Oh, I'm glad to learn that because I've been there. I've never been to New York yet, but I've been to California, so I can't compare the two. But I have a reference now, so thank you. Uh, yeah, so you have your community there, where I'm sure you have much more connections in New York now from your years making films. Uh, with your first film, you said you first met all your theater friends, and they kind of brought you on to make a film. What was your first experience like with them? Like just collaborating with all those people you met in that organization,
I
and
have
how did they?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Correct me if
No,
I'm wrong.
go on, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, what kind of role did you take on in your first project? Like, were you more of just a creative director? Do you uh, lend your insight onto whatever film they had, or were you the director?
Actually, the first film that I made, I was supposed to be casting. I was supposed to be casting. I was that the first film that I'm trying to think. I should probably check this with myself, even though I don't know if that's possible. But the first film that I executive produced that, I was a writer on. So I was a writer
Yeah.
on that. I acted in it and I was a producer. But I wasn't supposed to do any of those things at first. I was actually just supposed to cast a totally different story. And then, the director decided I want to do something different. And it was sort of a thing of like, let's use what we got. So I ended up working with like a bunch of people from NYU. And then that sort of like got my feet wet for, wanting to make more films. I haven't really made a lot of things with like people that I met through theater. I pretty quickly made film community or, made community with people that want to make films. So yeah, and I still will do theater, and I still will do production work or writing and things like that. So I definitely identify as a multi-hyphenate.
Awesome. What we have a question from Autumn, and she says, "How do you keep what you want and what audience want in balance?" So I assume, like, just with the projects you like, what with the project you're working on right now, that you're directing, uh, I assume you can use your perception to see what the audience would want in some situations and what you want as a director. So how do you keep those in balance?
I mean, as a director, I guess I sort of like focus on like what I want to see. I feel like part of that is like a producer question. So, like, if I were a producer, then I would think about it totally differently. So, like, all right, I'll answer the producer version of this.
Yeah,
I'm producing a film right now. I'm an associate producer on a film, and a lot of the decisions that I have to make are somewhat creative because you have to know the story, you have to know who your audience is, you have to know who's going to be looking for this thing. And then maybe you might say, well, we haven't seen this in this type of film before. So we should try and get, it's like, we've never seen Fruit Loops in a film, about two very large marshmallows ever in history. So we got to go get, we have to go get it because so we can be the first person to do it. So there are certain things like that that I feel like, yeah, you might think of it that way, but as a director, you know, I feel like that has to do with like your voice, it has to do with like how it has to do with your vision and really being unapologetic about the vision that you're trying to create, you know?
yeah, I feel that because I'm writing my first feature right now, and just keeping that vision uh, unfiltered in a way. And I'm sure in other drafts it will be filtered by myself, but at least at the start, I want it to be just raw.
Hmm.
Uh, so, uh, you also said you've worked with a lot of students that graduated from NYU, and that's an awesome resource, I bet, from just being that close and in the city. You get to use a lot of very talented young filmmakers, just and you give them a lot of opportunities as well on productions you work on. And do you see that as a valuable resource?
Well, I've worked with people who graduated at AFI,
Yeah. Oh,
NYU,
yeah. But
you, whatever.
just
I
a
feel
close
like,
distance.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I just feel like if you're good at your job, that's one thing. But if you're good at your job and then you also have a great personality and you're good at working with other people, then you will get hired. So I feel like wherever you study, it's like who cares, Like we have to spend a lot of time together. As long as you do your job, I do my job, we support each other, it's all good.
Yeah. Sometimes that's hard to find that balance of like just talent and wanting to work hard, and also just being very easy to work with. Sometimes that balance is very hard to find, but it's needed for just long hours on set. Uh, uh, what advice do you give to filmmakers that are looking to like move? Like, because I'm going to Kent right now. I'm from Pittsburgh, but if I look to move after college, like to New York or LA or Atlanta, uh, what would you say to someone like that in that position? Like, and to your younger self as well, who took that leap?
Mm. Like I don't know, like part of me is like save money, like um I mean, I would say right now, this is how I would put it. Right now, because we're in a pandemic, there are so many online resources and classes, like even like Sundance Collab, and uh, there are things, like I will check out Black Film Space because that's great for Black artists to meet and connect. There's Ghetto Film School that you can look at. Like I would say, if you're fresh out of school and you can apply for internships or you can apply for some of those things so that you can already like move here with the ability to build community once you get here, even if that means like taking a summer at NIFA or something like that. You know, they may not be the best programs or the best schools or whatever it is. Like, who cares about that? Like, you know, just try to build a network once you get here. Um, you know, try and find whatever production jobs that you can, but don't get stuck in them, you know. And I would
Yeah.
say work on as many people's sets and stuff as you can. Hey, I'm, you know, I can do sound. If you ever need somebody who can do sound, like, let me know. I would say like I would say that's where you really build, because people will keep recommending you, and that's important. So wherever you
Definitely.
relocate, like, save some money, you know, and try and research what's available in that particular community. So I feel like a lot of people move somewhere and they have all their gear and they have all this stuff and they're ready to work. But I feel like there is some research and work you can do before you take that leap.
Yeah. For those people that don't know what NIFA is, can you explain to them like just what that exact organization is?
It's just
Like you said.
the New York Film Academy. I know
Yeah.
I haven't gone there or anything, but I know that they have a lot of programs all the time, and they take a lot of international students as well, which I feel like is really important. You know, like when you're building community and in film too. Like, I have also prioritized many times like working with international filmmakers, because I feel like they've looked at like an entire world that looks different than
Yeah.
mine, you know. This is so I feel like I'm always interested in like different perspectives, a diversity of opinion in the people that I'm working with, and I want to, you know, lean into their vision. You know, I want to know how they see the world, and I feel like, you know, film is a great way of working with people that are different than you and that have different skills. And I feel like if you're going to schools like that where they do have a lot of international students, I think most great film schools do, but that particular place, they send me emails for all of my life, every single week of my life, and they always have programs, and I feel like that would be a great place to learn.
Awesome. Where are some of the places that of some of the like foreign people that you work with? Because you're saying that there's some just out of the United States, like you said, like yeah, where are some of the places that you've worked with people from? Not like that you've traveled to, but just non-U.S. citizens that you've worked with, because that's something that I haven't done yet. That's awesome.
Yeah, like one of the people that I loved working with, the cinematographer Alice Boucherie. I think that's. I hope she won't be mad that I probably didn't say her name right, but she's French. So she
Yeah.
like moved from France, and we had a really low budget to make this web series, Cheer Up Charlie. And I looked through all of these. Like, there were so many people that we looked through for DPs, and I like saw Alice's stuff, and I was like, wow, like I really like her vision. I like her reel. I like the things that she's worked on. And, you know, they always like French filmmakers always have a great reputation.
Yeah.
They have like, you know, excellent schooling and things like that. And I just like basically just looked at her resume and looked at her work, and I was like, I want to work with this person. And we ended up screening at epic film festivals together, you know, so that was amazing. So like things like that, I feel like you always meet someone from, you know, somewhere else, and they always um, bring something new, something fresh, you know.
And you've kept that relationship with her, and you've worked on other stuff with her, I assume.
Not yet, but
Not yet.
I would, yeah, I would
Yeah,
love
that's
to.
awesome. And you said that's Cheer Up Charlie, and that was a web
hmm
series. And that was a few years back or recent?
No, we're actually still like,
Yours? Oh,
yeah, we actually did 6 episodes, and Alice was the cinematographer for all of them. So it was essentially like filming a feature, and right now we're just working on like color and sound. So we're in post for like the last episode. which was really nice. But yeah, we went to Urban World, Holly Shorts. We went to, award, like, Oscar qualifying and Academy Award qualifying festivals in 2019. So yeah, and we could continue our festival run, but I don't know if I don't know.
And you were the producer on that, or writer, or overall creative? Like, what was your exact role on that?
Producer director.
Pretty awesome. Okay.
Yeah, one of the
And
producer.
we have a question from MK Alvin, and he asks, how does the production process differ between working on a short film versus a web series? Like, in my mind, I would say that they're pretty similar, but what do you think, Carmen, in your experience so far?
Um, I think creatively it can be really different. Like, and it also comes down to choices, right? Because with Cheer Up Charlie, there were 6 episodes. So I sort of had an idea for how I wanted to frame and how I wanted to like frame different characters. I kind of knew that I knew how I wanted the pace to be for the series. And I knew that the way the story goes, like, it might seem like super bright and exciting in the beginning, but at the end it really does kind of go to a dark place. It's sort of like a coming of age story, and it centers this character Charlie, who sells weed to pay for her mom's medical bills. So it is sort of like edgy in that way, but I wanted it to be fun and interesting, and like I wanted to see these like drug dealers in a different light.
Yeah.
So we had a great time with it. But I feel like with short films, you know, there's no continuation, right? Like you have to have it's just like when you start a series, like, or a feature or something. It's like the first shot. It's like, what is that first shot going to be? And what is that final breath that we get at the end? Like, so I feel like the process is very similar in terms of production, but it could be less time, it could be less people, it could be, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like every production is different. I want to
Yeah.
compare, but I can't, because I feel like every production requires different things. Like for Cheer Up Charlie, I asked them at the last minute. I was like, "Hey, listen, I need you to get me Candyland. I need you to get me a bunch of weird candy for this shot. I need you to get me a kiddie pool." Like, I asked for ridiculous things. But for the film that I'm working on right now, it's like we just need a nice location. We need people who are dependable. Some things can be, I don't
Not
know.
asking for too much on this one.
Right.
High quality, but we'll keep the the level of need, unlike the other one, low. Uh, what has kept you motivated during the pandemic? Because like you said in our talk, you seem like a very motivated person, uh, and on your film right now, you're working on that in pre-production, I assume, currently on your film. What has kept you motivated during the pandemic? Because I myself, I've been just it seems like just being tossed around a lot just by multiple different variables. But like with school starting back up for me, but what's kept you motivated and just persevering through these changes during this time?
I mean, the reality is, like, I have a job that I have to do. Like, I have deadlines. so I have to finish up some of these projects.
Yeah,
So I think that's part of it. But I also feel like when I was really, really sick and I couldn't physically do anything, I was really starting to have my doubts and kind of wonder, what is my purpose? Like, everything shut down. I can't go to the theater. That's what I like to do when I'm sad. I can't just like walk down the street and meet up with my friends. So, how do I fill my day? Or I'm too sick to leave my bed. So what can I do? Because my mind is going. Like I want something to do. It would be like I have this energy mentally, maybe not physically, to do something. So I would honestly just sit and like watch YouTube channels and like, geek out over directors and like their little interviews and stuff. I would get into master classes. I would, pick up some books that I haven't read yet, like
Yeah.
I would look and see if there were other things that would creatively inspire me, watching new films, um, and or rewatching things and really asking myself, why do I love this so much? Because I feel like that's a thing. Like you want to do film and you're like asking yourself 10 years later, why did I sign up to do this? And then you realize, oh, because I was watching this film 1,000 times when I was a kid and I could never figure out why. Let me rewatch it now and figure out what it is about that film that inspired me so much. And, just like being a constant student, I feel like is what motivates me because every time I embark on a new project, I'm just going to ask myself, and I am asking myself, like, where am I being, what is the challenge in this? And, what can I bring to this project? Or what do I bring to this project that, nobody else can bring? And that's just
Yeah.
about like knowing your voice.
Yeah, that should be every just creative's goal, just to try to find their voice, because we all have different ones, and just that's our gift, is to try to show it. Uh, who are some of the directors and just creatives that helped you find who you are, Carmen? Because uh, there's a few that I found for myself so far, but since you've been around a bit longer than me, you have a few more years than I have. I'm sure you found some of those voices that helped you find yours. So you said some directors that you talked past some directors that help uh, that you really enjoy. So who are those people?
I mean, it didn't really like click for me, but I like really love Spike Lee's work. Um, and I guess this is another like multi hyphenate. There
Yeah,
are a number of reasons why I think that Spike Lee is like one of the most brilliant creators. Uh, I think I think that was another thing. Like, I got to watch the master class and I got to be like, oh, snap. Like, because I used to watch Brooklyn when I was little, like, so often, you know? Um, and it felt like coming home to myself in a way because I remember being little and being like, I want to move to Brooklyn. I want to move to Fort Greene, or reading about the Harlem Renaissance and being like, I want to move to Harlem. So, I could be around all these artsy people and make stuff any time of day. So I would say that's one director. There's a director who's actually Lars von Trier, I think that's how you say his name. He's Danish. He did Melancholia. He did Antichrist. He did Breaking the Waves. He is just an incredibly fascinating person. And this is the type of director that creates films that a lot of like art house films that I feel like are films that I like to go see, but I probably wouldn't want to make. They're very dark films. I don't do that. I don't make dark things. The directors that I love, like Ava DuVernay, I got to see her speak, in 2019. I don't do the same thing, but I think it's like about like satisfying, a craving that I have. And I feel like each of them have like vastly different voices and do very different things with totally different style. And I just appreciate them all. And I want to watch something that I can enjoy, or feel sick over. Like Aronofsky's work makes me feel sick sometimes. Like Mother made me
Darren. Oh
vomit.
yeah,
But I was like, this is great. It's so ambitious. And it's
people
like,
hated it. I liked Mother.
I thought it was great. I thought it was so
Yeah,
ambitious. Like the whole recreation of like Michelangelo's painting going up, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that's you're looking and you're going, this is someone who studied art and is making that, they're it's like this is a medium of moving art. This is You
Yeah,
are able to create this holy moment with every single second in film, and they didn't take any of these moments for granted. There were things I
yeah.
didn't like
There's
about it, but so yeah,
yeah.
those are some of the people. But there are so many directors that I feel like are like Dee Rees. It's like, oh my gosh, like brilliant,
Who's that?
um, do you know the director of? I'm pretty sure I said that right. The director of Pariah. Have you ever seen Pariah?
I'm not familiar. No, I know my directors too. I'm pretty good, but I'm not familiar.
I'm like making sure I said this right.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sure you did.
So Dee Rees did Pariah, which is like amazing. One of the best like indie
Right,
films.
I'll have to put that on my list. Thank you,
Yeah.
Carmen. Right, okay.
I saw
I should be able to find it.
And that's the other thing, like you can just go. They did Bessie, they did Mudbound, they did Pariah. Pariah is probably my favorite. But it's like when you're in New York, you can also just see these people speak at events, like you go to film festivals, that's the best part. You get to see directors talk about their work. So I'm a fan of a lot of directors. I really am. Even some of my friends, I'm like, you're brilliant. Like I never do what you do, but I love what you do and let me know what you need. I will help you with whatever. Cause like you know, yeah.
Yeah, you just love their voice, and that's like me for a lot of directors as well. It's not my voice, but I love hearing it and just seeing what they have to say and how they change and evolve over time. Like all those directors, like Aronofsky, or he's done, he's consistently did a lot of religious subtext, but I think it's become a lot more apparent, at least with Mother. uh, uh, in your experience, how do you feel about uh, disproportionate representation in front of the camera in film and television? Uh, do you like what is its current state nowadays? Because in New York, at least from what I've seen, like it's a very progressive place for film and televisions, but across the country, it's not where we want it to be right now. But uh, what's your just feelings about that, and how like the leaders like Spike Lee, Ava DuVernay, and how are they making a difference in that struggle right now?
I mean, I think it's like I think like Spike Lee and Ava are actually like the best examples of people who are making a difference.
Yeah,
Because they understand how important mentorship is. They understand how important like creating a pipeline for artists, for Black artists, for artists of color to have their work seen, and developed. So I think that's part of it. But I feel like part of the issue with, people are looking for diversity, right? But the real issue is actually systemic. It's like there are only some people who can afford to go to NYU. So it's like asking, well, like why don't you go to film school, or would you? Maybe I would have gone to film school if I had the money to attend. You know what I mean? Like, and even when you're looking at some of these programs, like some of these like master's programs and everything, you still have to have access to funding to make your thesis film. So sometimes it comes down to like financing. Sometimes it comes down to access. Who are your parents, friends? Who are a lot of people get their shot because they know somebody. That's just the reality. So it's like, it might take, I have some friends that it didn't really take them that long to get stuff done because they just have privilege that I just do not. So I feel like it's a whole lot of different it's a lot of different things. Like even when they have directors programs or when they have you know, uh like you can apply for this thing once a year, you sign up, you fill out this thing, and then hopefully you'll get selected to be one of these 5 directors to do X, Y, and Z. That's only once a year, and that's only 5 people once a year, and that'll benefit those lucky 5 people. But the reality is, like, I don't personally have time to wait 5 years to be selected. So that means it's up to me to figure out how me and my friends are going to get together, put some money in a bucket, and create something, you know? So I feel like it comes down to access. It comes down to, you know, knowing what you have to offer. It comes down to believing in yourself. It comes down to having grit, you know, and not everybody's cut out for it. If you're not cut out for it, find something else to do. Like, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anybody because it's hard.
Yeah, I felt that even in my short time of being a student at Kent State, just because I want to make my own things at Kent State, just on the side, aside from like school projects, and just finding a group of people to try to make that with. It's a struggle sometimes because just personally, I don't think those people haven't been found out what their true calling is. Like you said, it takes grit and a lot of perseverance to dedicate yourself to a craft, and it's going to take time to find that out. Uh, but like you said, you don't really have a film education. Like you kind of found your own way, and like I and like big schools like USC and NYU, like I toured USC. I can never afford it, but it was always my dream. It's like a dream school. It's a pipe dream, but eh, but the thing is like there's like 50 people graduate there, and that's what I tell myself at least. 50 people graduate there a year. If I look at the alumni list, I probably only know like one of them a year who graduate, like big names. So like anyone like Kent Kent isn't a film school. You're alma mater. It's not really a big film school, but I think anyone can make it. And you're doing great for how old you are right now, and like what your privilege is, like you said. So there's always possibilities for some people who stay determined like you, uh, and it's awesome. Uh, and do you think like what kind of tools do you think you found? Just I think that perseverance. I think you found that perseverance by not going to like NYU. I think that's one
I
tool
mean,
that you'll have.
I
I think
don't know.
that's something that's like you can't get anywhere else. I think that helps you out a lot.
I feel like you can get like not every just I don't know how to explain it, but like not everybody has the sauce. You know, like I wish that I could say that it was anything more than that, but I can't tell you how many people in my life when I was in Ohio, family members who told me, "Oh, you think you're going to do this? You think you're going to go to New York?" Or my classmates like, "Oh, you think you're going to do that?" When I was in high school, and I've been here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like being focused and like having the vision for yourself even if nobody else has that vision, you know, and staying in tune with the things that you feel like are right for you, that inspire you, and not thinking that you have to do it one way or another way. Some people feel great being in a structured place where they're learning, you know, they're where they are in the best school so that they have access to the best support. Like I think that that is, I will never like say that that's not a good thing.
oh
Like
yeah,
if I got a full ride to AFI, I would probably be like, look, I know that I already like I know that I already went to this film festival or I have the capacity to do this, that, or the other. But if somebody said you can do this for free, I would probably go. You know, I think that I think it's never too late to learn. I think I'll be a student for the rest of my life. Some of the best directors out here in the game, they're still learning. They are
of
still
course.
students of the craft. Like that doesn't change. You know how fast technology changes? Like, you know how fast, like, if you look at a film from 1970 and then, you know, like Kramer versus Kramer, I don't know. I think that's like from the 80s or 70s or something. But that's a family drama. Love it. But the way that those scenes are constructed, the way that dialogue was used during that time is so different than how they're used right now. So I feel like, you know, part of it is just like knowing your voice as an artist and being okay with, whatever your voice is and being okay maybe being the only one who sees, you know, the track that you're laying down, and just going you know, just aiming for it. Just don't stop, you know. You put in the time, you get in what you put into it. You know what I mean?
100%. And I've felt that in the few like just during COVID. Like the more you put in, the more you put out, like, the more you get out of it. Like you said, and I definitely feel that. Uh, Autumn sent us another question, and she says, "Is there anything another filmmaker said slash did that specifically stood out or impacted you, and that you continually keep in mind when creating your own work?" So, who's that person, and what did they tell you, Carmen?
Yes, Autumn, a couple people, but one one person one person said, you have to wait, you have to just keep working because it's going to be a while before our talent matches up with our taste. So
Yeah,
I'm like, I look at some things I made in the beginning and I'm like, "Ooh." You know what I mean? Like I know what I was aiming for, but that's not what I did. You know? And that's just the process. You get better with
yeah.
practice.
Practice and time, and like your experience, we're always learning, like you said. And like that AFI, I think you kind of talked about that as well. That AFI, 5 people get into it. Like it's kind of like a grant based program. Uh, one of the guests I'm going to talk to in the near future, she was a part of that a few years
Mm.
back, and she was a part of that. It's like a grant program for women, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And yeah, AFI is like one of those other pipe dream schools that I'd like to go to, like for a graduate degree. But just looking at the rates of like yearly based, like how much it costs, I don't think that's a possibility currently. But yeah, those those like little possibilities for women filmmakers is awesome, and I'm glad that they're having those resources for women filmmakers because we're still like, if you look at the horror genre, like the one speaker that I'm gonna speak to, there's not many horror filmmakers that I know of. Like there's Karen Kusama. I can't really say too many more, but just getting those voices out there, like you said, that's very important. And I'd like, yeah, it would be awesome if you got into that program because, like you said, you, you could learn like we could all learn from AFI. They have amazing tools there.
Yeah,
Uh,
you can
yeah,
also learn from other people, like that's the thing.
yeah,
A lot of people kind of they don't realize how often a lot of us directors rely on each other. Like I definitely have my like community is so important. My friend April Maxey, she is in the AFI women's program right now, and she's the person that's going to be DPing this short that we're filming. We've worked together a couple times. We like working together, but there are times when you panic and you're like, wait, am I what? I think I need to do something. My process needs to be different for this film, or I need to find the right DP, or I need to find the right colorist, or I need to, and that's when you rely on your friends to really help you when, or help you on days when you're just in the thick of it. You never know. There could be an actor that just loses it. And then you're like, what do I do? So there's so many things that could go wrong. And it's always helpful to have community on speed dial where, you could have a little sidebar and be like, hey, what do I do tomorrow? I'm freaking out. And, they're there for you. So I feel like you got to have people, you have to have a community to lean on. And that's another reason why I feel like being in class, and studying is really important and impactful.
yeah, and just learning together, and that's why just jumping through those obstacles together, and you learn your talents and you learn your downfalls, and you just get to know one another and help, and that kind of translates onto the into the production as well, which that's the great part about working with people uh, in class and other stuff like you said. And yeah, we have no other. I have some other questions for you, but uh, uh, like, do you ever feel that you ever get like your stories? Like, do you think your stories ever get like boxed into a corner? just because of your uh, of your like minority, like where you stand, and do you ever feel that that you're limited to the options in the stories that you can tell? And because you're self-funded, it sounds like, because you said like we all put our just money into a pile and see what we can make. But do you ever feel like that you ever are limited to the stories you can tell in that regard,
Um,
or you
well,
can just go all out and do whatever?
I mean, first of all, like for producers out here, don't use your own money to make your film. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Use your money, get investors. First off, like, don't do that. That's part of the filmmaking process. Like, even directors who are big time, they still have to get investors for their film. They might say, "Hey, I want to make this film about garbage, literal garbage. I want to figure out. I want to make a documentary about garbage." Um, they have to find investors for that. They need a producer. They might need, do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
like everybody, it really is like a community effort. So it's about finding people that want to make similar content that you do. Like I had a tough time because I really want to do comedy. I want to do dark comedy, and I just had to find that community. You know, I had to kind of do a little bit of excavation here in New York and try and find people that were in alignment in that way. But as a director, you know, you can come onto projects where the money's already there, you know, and all you have to do is, you know, work within the budget, which is what I'm doing with this film. So I primarily work in like on indie projects. Um, and I am happy to do that, but I eventually want to work in TV. So that's why I, you know, worked on a web series because I wanted people to know that I can do web series. I made a short so people know that I can make short films. They know that I would be able to make a feature. You know what I mean? So I feel
yeah,
like there is a track that you have to lay down for people to know what you're capable of. But of course, like someone who maybe has more access in different ways than I do might make one short and then suddenly they're signed on to do some major thing, you know? So it's a combination of like hard work, dedication, discipline,
luck.
luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, what kind of options have you tried for funding? Because at least for the projects that I've been a part of at Kent, I've seen students try a multiple types of like online fundraising, just uh, like donations wise, and they've tried like in-person fundraising. Like there's many types of options, and what kind of types of fundraising have you found the most effective, and like just what types have you tried altogether?
I mean, a lot of people use Seed and Spark, which I feel like is great because it gives you discounts on, you know, rentals and stuff like that. And then another thing with like funding and stuff, you can always go on Fractured Atlas. You can always get people to actually donate things too to like keep your costs down. So in terms of like production, I mean, it's a if you're making something that's like pretty much community led, community based, like I always say if I'm filming in this certain area, I'd like to support the local business. I'd like to work with this business and say, hey, I'm making this film. Can you cut me a deal on this? We'll put you in the, we'll thank you in the credits, or do you know what I mean? Like there are certain things that you can do to like keep those costs a little lower. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think
that's cool.
if it's your first thing, you know, I would just say like make sure your prep work is good. Make sure the people that you're working on is good because like when you get to asking your friends and family, you know, for your money, they kind of part of them, you know, yeah, they want to support you, but you want to make sure that you have a plan. Like, are you gonna submit to festivals? Are you gonna, you know, and having a plan for that too? Because like I had to at one point raise money just to go to some of like we were screening all over the world. We screened in London, we screened in Toronto, we screened like all over the country and I couldn't go to half of them because it's expensive to, you know, travel back and forth. You know, from festival to festival. So things like
Yeah,
that, like as a filmmaker, I feel like are helpful things to keep in mind.
yeah, totally. are there any stories you have in mind for the future that you're still kind of chasing in that way? Because there's always like some concept I have in my mind that I'm looking to just develop in the future. Uh, if so, you don't have to say it, but like, what do you do to kind of keep that in mind and just continuously develop that while you're working on your many projects that you're producing, directing? Do you just like for all the people listening, do you just keep a list of all of your like future ideas, or what's your method, Carmen?
Yeah, I do keep a list. I also have pages and several notebooks, and I have scripts that are, in my computer that I never. I'm like maybe one day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also, I actually find myself like taking pictures. Um, like I'll take a picture of framing, or I'll take a picture, if there's something that I really like, I'll write things down. I also follow, I mean, I have like an agent and all the other things, like, but I follow other creators on Instagram. Like, I'm talking cinematographers. Like, I already have in my mind, like, I may not know, like, I know that I want to make a horror comedy. That's something that I want to make in the next 2 years. Who do so even if I don't have the script, I'll just have in my mind when I'm working on, just like with editors, when I'm working on a dark comedy, these are the editors that I go to. When I'm working on, like this sort of comedy or drama, then I have these colorists that I'll reach out to. So with cinematographers, it's like I just have a list in my mind of people that I think are brilliant, and I just follow them. And I look and I watch everything that they make. um, I think that's really important.
Yeah. You said colorist a few times. I'm not too familiar, like just with the position of a colorist. So, can you explain to me and the others the importance of a colorist?
Yeah, a colorist can kind of like make or break things sometimes. um, have you been watching TV shows during this time? Like, did you watch like Ratched? Like, you said
Oh,
it.
the Sarah Paulson.
Yeah.
Oh, Ratchet. Yeah, I think it's Ratcheted. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's
What?
on Netflix, right?
Yeah, that
Okay.
show.
Yeah, I'm
I didn't
familiar. I haven't seen
I
it,
didn't
but
get through all of it, but I thought one of the best things about it was the color. Like,
really,
yes, like you saw how vibrant those things were, and like how in certain places they had this like beautiful, like just the way that the colors of the car were so, you know what I mean? Like they were just so vibrant, and
yeah.
just everything was very balanced. Like you need someone to balance out the color in a film. Like it's like when when you're filming, like you can make decisions and lighting and everything, but ultimately you always have to go to the colorist to really bring out your whole color palette.
Oh,
Like,
so color correction.
yeah,
That's what. Okay, that's what you mean. Okay, so
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's
that's a
important.
mix of production design and color correction, which yeah, it sticks out. You can really tell the outliers, the really uh, great ones, like you said, with Ratchet, and there's some that kind of sink to the bottom. But yeah, that can really make your film stand out. And that's what I've seen from some of your just stills and shots from your projects. They just really stand out to me, and that's I really it's eye catching. It makes you want to watch the film. So uh, before anything else, that can make you watch the film. So it's a form of marketing as well. Like I like your films or in your shorts and your web series for all the posters and like just the advertisements surrounding that, because it's just extremely eye catching. And that's a great job on your part. I really all the people you hire. Like, are you a artistic person? Like with the like I don't know. Do you make those posters, or do you find great creators to make those?
Oh no,
Okay.
I don't do things I'm not great at.
Okay.
Like, no,
Okay.
no, I do things that I'm not great at, but I mean, like, I think it's all about, that's part of the creative aspect, right? It's
Yeah.
like, as a director, you have to kind of make this particular vision in your mind that's not real, you have to bring that into reality. So, like right now in this film that I'm directing, the one of the characters is an artist. So I have to have in mind the kind of art that they will have in their home, which means I need an art director and a production designer who can help me bring that vision that doesn't exist in real life. We have to hunt those things down so that I can figure out how I'm going to frame each of these moments. So it's like, yeah, every little detail, every person on your team, I think matters, like down to your PA, down to the person who's bringing your food. Like not everybody operates that way. I'm like one of the like more chill and like maybe more kind people to work with, because some people have no mercy. but I really like to work with small teams, and I like it to I like the energy on set to be comfortable. I like people to feel
Yeah.
comfortable. I like people to feel safe. And I like people to be proud, and I like each person on the team to be proud of the work they did.
I think your actors like you very much for that, and just everyone else, because just from the small bit of acting work I did in high school, uh, just that calm and comfortable atmosphere. I'm sure your actors respect you for that. Autumn also says that she recommends A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which
Excellent.
is a film that I've heard was the best of 2019, but
It was beautiful. It
yeah, I
was
have to watch it.
it was
I've
so
been
beautiful. Like that was such a gorgeous film. Yeah.
I have to see that. Yeah, but I yeah, just find like you said, the film you're working on right now, you have to find all those just try to find the truth in the film and try to find, just try to make it feel like it's a real person. That's awesome, and I hopefully you find that. Are you just trying to work with some, local artists and just some people you know in New York to find that?
I mean, I can't say I always work with people I know.
Yeah,
Just because, people won't be available, or, like you may not always get your first choice for different positions, but I usually try and pick the best crew for each project.
yeah. Do you okay, I have 2 more, and if anyone else has any, uh, we'll see what happens there. But do you ever find yourself working with like reoccurring cast members? Because I'm sure you work with some familiar crew members, but uh, just cast members. Do you ever cast some people that you feel familiar with and create that comfortable atmosphere?
Yeah, I think I will, for sure. Like I'm only just now starting to find actors that feel like I would probably want to work with, like, quite a few times in my lifetime. But I actually always have a running list. I always have a running list of actors that I want to work with. But I write plays too. And I always have actors that I'm asking to do stuff. Can you read this? Can you be in this? Can you, you know what I mean? So, and
Yeah,
it's great because then you get to know people before, and you get to say, okay, I worked with them in theater. When I work on this project, they would be great for that. And it just makes it so much easier because you want them to be comfortable, you want to be comfortable. But I also am weird because I'm like, I love actors. I think they're the strangest people, and sometimes the most open people. So I feel like I am pretty good about nurturing those relationships. Um, yeah, I'm the type of person where if I get along with someone, like I would probably like to work with them in the future, if it's possible, and vice versa. I think that's people like to work with who they vibe with.
yeah. Uh, yeah, as a filmmaker, I can't wait to find those relationships and develop them through time. Autumn, she has another question, and she says, "What is something that you avoid or try to avoid as a filmmaker?" I assume like when you're directing or writing, what are things like you try to avoid? Like with this film you're working on, I'm sure you don't want to repeat some of the uh, same mistakes you made in the past, but what are those things?
Some things that I try to avoid. Um,
Cliche
I
wise, maybe.
I avoid uh hmm let's see. I would say as a non-binary creative, and as a black creative, as a Filipino creative, like I avoid um like bad attitudes on set. Like I think there's only been like there was one time where my AD wasn't available and they had a substitute come in and the substitute just
Wasn't vibing.
they were kind of like a backseat driver
Okay.
and it wasn't that kind of set, like every day we were like la 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 la, so happy to be at work, and this one day you could feel the energy, dissipating in the room. You could feel people were uncomfortable and I was like, this one person really is like the bad egg, and I had to really, you know I had to really try and negotiate how my body exists in this space. A lot of people have preconceived notions about me coming into a space. I've entered spaces where I was a producer and people thought that I was like the hair person or the PA or somebody dropping something off when I, in fact, hired them. So there are things like that happen, and I'm not an unapproachable person, but I feel like a lot of people have some work to do in terms of the expectations they have when it comes to who is occupying a certain position of authority. So, in this particular instance, I had someone who I think had been used to being on sets that were, male dominated or where they were used to be like shut down, or they had basically developed some bad habits. So by the time they got on this set that was very safe for for them to be a woman, safe for them to hold their position and be able to relax, they weren't used to that. And it ended up that I didn't want to fire them, and I don't want to embarrass them, and I don't want to get angry in front of everyone. I wanted the morale to stay up here. They were bringing the morale all the way down here, and I had to figure out, in order for us to get our day and be on time, how to get everybody up to here. And that just meant I had to pull the producer aside and say, hey, this isn't going to work. We need to take them off of this position, give them another job to do because they're distracting me from my job. So I try to avoid people who are backseat drivers.
Yeah. What exactly do you mean by that? Just so I have a clear idea of backseat driver. Just someone that's not fully there and not attentive, or
I think it's like there's always that like the peanut gallery, like the it's
yeah.
like, why are you doing this? We need to da 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 da. And like it's like, but that's not your job. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not your job to tell me why what I'm doing isn't the way that you would do it or the way that I'm supposed to be doing it, or the way that you're used to it being done. Because we've been efficient and on time every day, and then you just got here. So you have to kind of, and that's what I mean about being a people person and being a good communicator and being able to actually read the room and having a certain amount of self-awareness, um, to not distract people who are in focus and doing their job, or even if the director tells you like, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not concerned with that right now, to just sit down, just let it go. There are certain times when you just have to, when you have to kind of respect other people's, positions of authority. And I think that a lot of times for any women identifying or any non-male identifying people who are listening, I think it's really important for you to know and be aware of the fact that like there will be many times where you will experience a ton of backseat drivers, and you have to be prepared for that, and you have to be able to keep your cool. and just focus on the task at hand. So that's kind of what I mean by that.
Yeah, I think that goes for anyone, just to know your place when you're on a set, because like you said, it's very time oriented and there's not much time to deal with those contradictions on set. Uh, we have another question from MK Alvin, and he says, "What are some of your movie recommendations? Off the top of your head, what are some of the films you've recently seen, Carmen, that you can recommend to Mr. Alvin?"
The last movie I watched was The Witches. Robert Zemeckis
Uh,
with
HBO Max, yeah.
yeah, that was the last film that I watched. And it was like I just thought it was so funny because I'm just looking at this and like that's another one where the production design and the color was gorgeous. But this
Oh
is Robert,
yeah.
so of course. But yeah, that was the last movie I watched that I enjoyed. I'm trying to think. I need to watch my friend's film. My friend was in this film called The Trial of Chicago 7, so that's on my list.
Your
But I
friend
haven't
was in
watched.
that film.
Hmm.
Oh, is it a smaller role, or like what kind of role does he or she
I
have?
haven't watched it yet, so I
So
don't
you don't
know.
know. Can,
Yeah, yeah.
can you let us? Can you shout out this person just so?
Yeah, my friend named
'Cause I'm
Alice
excited to see it. Alex or
Kremmelberg.
Alice. I'm sorry.
Alice,
Yeah,
yeah, Alice Kremmelberg was in that. I'm trying to think of another film. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who
that's
are,
awesome.
so I
That's
try to
yeah.
watch
That's
diverse stuff.
Steven Soder.
Um,
Or no, that's not Steven. That's Aaron Sorkin.
yeah, yeah. So I have
Awesome.
to
Yeah.
watch that. I'm trying to think of another film that recently that I watched that I want to watch the film. I haven't seen the film Clemency. And the cinematographer is Eric Branco, and I want to watch that. So that's on my list, just for that's on my cinematography list. Um, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's so many films to watch. I also actually watch a lot of short films. I watch a lot of shorts, so I'll just sit on Vimeo and I'll just like watch the South by Southwest shorts or the festival circuit. They'll put out a shorts list, and I'll just run through those. Um, I think watching shorts is really important.
Yeah, because they're just really compact. Uh, uh, Sometimes just raw, undeveloped voices, but you can see what those can become with just future work, because there's a many young talents on there. Uh, so, do you have? Can you explain to everyone like what you're working on right now? Once again, as we're closing off, and what you'd like to share about that work, and how can we find you, Carmen? Like all your work, because you have your web series, your shorts, everything. How can we find you, and what are you working on?
Well, I'll be dropping a trailer for the film that I'm working on right now, which is Pink and Blue. So Pink and Blue is by Nike Uche Kadri, who is an incredible artist. They're working on some cool projects right now, in addition to Pink and Blue. And it's actually executive produced by Silas Howard, who is another director that you should put on your list. Um, and the film centers a transgender nonconforming couple. One is black, the other is Filipinx, and they have a surprise pregnancy, and then they're trying to figure out how they're going to raise their child in a binary world. So they're like, how can I raise this child so that they can just be without the construct of gender, which is very important. So that's what I'm working on right now. Um, we're going to be filming in just like 2 weeks. And I'll
Awesome.
drop a trailer for that soon. And then Cheer Up Charlie, we've been doing the festival circuit. It's a web series, a dark comedy about Charlie, who sells plenty of marijuana in New York City to pay for her mom's medical bills, as her mom has cancer.
Awesome. Just all very unique stories that like that I haven't seen recently. So that's awesome that someone's telling them. Uh, and where can we like some of your back catalog of work? Where can we find that? Like, would that be
So
on YouTube or Vimeo or?
I have a Vimeo profile, but I don't really put anything on there. Mostly because I want to stay in development and I want to get distribution. So a lot of the time when you don't find some filmmakers' work like streaming, then that's
That's
why.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, and because we're still in the festival circuit for Cheer Up Charlie,
Yeah.
it's gonna, everything's kind of at a halt at the moment. But hopefully, once we're done, it'll get picked up, by and developed by someplace cool.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Hopefully, I'd love to see that. Uh, yeah, we have all our comments of just anything to leave our watchers with, Carmen. Any last minute, if everyone here could leave with something like one main point, what would you like to leave everyone with uh, as a parting message?
That's so hard. So much
What's
pressure.
all your wisdom? Try to boil it down to.
Um, there are a couple things. I would say to everyone, stay engaged. I know it's a hard time. I know we're in a pandemic, but if you want to be an artist, part of the work of an artist is reflecting the times. Um, that means that you have to pay attention. That means that you don't get the privilege of falling asleep. That means that, unfortunately, you do have to read the news. Unfortunately, you do have to study other artists. Unfortunately, you do have to watch a lot and study a lot, and you have to expose yourself to as much of the world and of other people as you can. I would say if you're someone if you're someone whose world is pretty small, right? Like the more you know, the larger your world becomes. So you have to think of your artistry and think of your life like this. So you want to open your mind, you want to be more creative, you want to be more expansive as an artist, you have to open your mind. The less you know, the more your world stays like this. The more you know, the more your world expands. And that's important because a lot of times artists have ideas that the world hasn't even conceived of yet. It's not, being an artist means that you have the opportunity and the privilege and the honor of changing culture. So the moment I create something and people are going wild on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, then that's when culture shifts, which means that politics shifts, which means that the economy shifts. That is the power of being an artist. So you have to be aware of that. You have to know yourself and you have to be open to changing and growing. If you do not believe that you are capable or you don't want to do those things, then this will be harder for you. So if you feel close-minded in any way, or if you feel afraid to, part of the responsibility of the artist is to separate yourself from all of your biases, right? um because in artistic space you're safe to be all of who you are or all of who you're not or all of who you want to be. So that space is sacred and you just have to remember that. um I know that's a big concept, but that is the last piece of wisdom that I have for you.
Yeah, it's very abstract, but just to push boundaries and always try to challenge yourself, and that's what we all should, as artists, should try to do, and that's a great message to leave us with. So thank you, Carmen, for coming on. Uh, this is a out of our three we've done so far, it's been different, and that's what we're trying to get from each of these. So I appreciate you coming on for KSUIF and just sharing your voice and your message. So it was great, and I'm looking forward to. I'm sorry, it's pink.
Pink and
What's
blue.
your pink and blue and Cheer Up
Mhm.
Charlie? Whenever they release, I will be there. So I'm looking forward to that trailer in 2 weeks, hopefully, or whenever you start filming. it's gonna come
Well,
down the line. So
I gotta edit
yeah,
it.
it's gonna take a while. Yeah, yeah, but
Check back in December.
I'll be there. Uh, so this has been KCYF, our cinema strategies with Carmen LoBue. Thank you all for coming, and we'll be back next time with another great speaker. Thank you all.